must be happy with last night's result regarding Darren Glass.
Yeah, obviously ecstatic. We don't you don't take it lightly, taking on the charges, and you only really take them on if you feel as though the result wasn't correct in the first place. So.
Does that rule need to be clearer, John? Do you think there seem to be a few that have gone either way on contact like that?
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. You know, when we meet on Monday morning as a match committee, we say, do we think Darren will they continue with that charge when you had been reported? What will the match review panel say? And pretty much we all look at each other and say, we don't know. You know, that could be thrown out, or he could get charged with something, and you just don't know. So you wait and see. Because there was that amount of doubt in our minds straight away, then our feeling was, well, if he does get charged with something, we'd probably challenge it without even knowing what it was going to be. Once you get the charge, then there's a process around what's he been charged with and what are you going to challenge in regards to that. So that all took place, which is with our experts rather than the match committee. So, you sit there and you wait and see and you deal with it as it comes.
Is the extra penalty ever a consideration as to whether or not you challenge?
Definitely.
Or is it a case of whether you think?
No, it's the extra penalty is a massive deterrent about. You really have to be confident and clear about what you're challenging, because the penalty is pretty great. You know, an extra week, an extra basically 50% increase in Glassy's penalty if you fail.
The fact that you guys weren't clear as to whether he would or would not be cited, do you think that maybe means there should be more clarity as to what is or isn't acceptable?
I don't know if you're ever going to have absolute clarity. Every situation is just slightly different. So the match review panel obviously have a system they go through in terms of assessing these things. We don't know exactly what that is. We know the rules, but specifically what they tick off, we don't know. So that's why we sit there and wait.
John, where's Nick Naitanui at this week? Have you got any closer to deciding whether he'll play or not?
Nick's going really well. Yeah. So we're in the process of having a look at picking the side now. It'd be fair to say that if Nick's fit and available and we're comfortable, he can. He'll play if he's declared available, but the level of which he's available will determine whether he plays or not this week.
What does he have to do to get that final tick?
What does he have to do? It's not really up to Nick now. I think Daniel said the other day, he's been saying, I feel like I could play now. The idea is that he plays and doesn't pull up sore and then plays longer and stronger next week and the week after. So it's more about how we want to manage him, about whether he plays or not this week.
And would he definitely, if he's fit to play, does he play for you?
This week? Well, again, that's going to determine if how much we think he can cope with in terms of playing this week. If he can only cope with 70 minutes, we've got to make that call. Do we want to play him knowing we can play him for 70 minutes? If he can only cope with 30 minutes, then he probably won't play for us. So we've got to make those calls.
But it sounds like you're considering it's not an automatic that he would play a game in the Waffle.
It depends. Yeah, it depends. If he's only declared for enough that we don't think he's ready to play for us this week, and with Swans having the bye, he'll just train up this week in preparation and be available for more minutes next week.
Matt Critters, where's he at?
Well, he's looking great, feeling good. So he still has to fulfil some commitments in terms of the concussion stuff. So that doesn't get fully signed off. They probably don't do the actual test they do until Friday or Saturday. But the indications on what we take as indications, he's feeling good. But the doctors will put him through the ringer in that regard.
With Swans having the bye, what options do you take with Andrew Embley? Would you be prepared to play him in reserves?
If he's declared available this week, we'll assess that. He hasn't been past fit yet, but we'll look at all the options there.
How far off is he?
He trained pretty well on Monday, felt good. So that's a good sign. That's how he pulled up from that, and then he'll step it up with intensity tomorrow.
And Adam Solid?
he's feeling good as well. So the likelihood is that he'll be available to play this week.
John, what have you made of the Bulldogs so far this season?
I think they've shown some really strong competitive quarters and games, and I like what they're building up towards.
What about Kobe Stevens, players last year? Have you seen his move over there, getting a bit more game time?
Yeah, it's excellent for him. You know, that was his decision to look at playing AFL footy, and he's managed to break into the Bulldogs lineup. So his decision's paid off for him, and it's wonderful to see.
Chris Marston's tweet after the game, he's apologised and said he was putrid against Port. What do you make of that sort of public assessment? Do you think it's a good thing?
It's honest. It's what he felt.
And Curry was also pretty outspoken on Monday. Do you think, has it been a player reaction to that game?
I don't know. Masto was disappointed he sprayed a few kicks because he's working on becoming an elite player, and I don't know if Curry was outspoken. I think he just was at the press conference and answered questions honestly. So,
we
yeah.
always get honest in footy media.
Don't you?
Not
You
always.
get most of it from us, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
Okay, so there's no surprises there. Look, we as a club aren't satisfied with what we've achieved so far this year, but we're very strongly focused on what we want to achieve this year, and we'll keep striving to work towards that.
Is expectation ever a factor, John? There were very high expectations on the club, both sides.
They still are. Yeah, absolutely. So that hasn't really changed, other than the nervousness of the current situation. So the doomsayers say, well, that's it, the season's done and dusted, you might as well wipe it. Our view is there's a lot of footy to play, and we're pretty excited about what we can still achieve.
When you get into tight situations like last week and players get a bit jittery over set shots, does that expectation ever come into play?
Don't know.
Not
It's
where you
yeah,
think you were going to be?
yeah. I don't know. Over, you remember back to Stephen Kernahan spraying a kick for goal, and then the next week he had the same situation and he nailed it to win the game for Carlton. So it's been there, and it's going to be there for as long as sport's played. And every player reacts a little bit differently, and the same players in Kernahan can have a different reaction within the space of 7 days. So, the answer is that's why we love going to watch sport, because the outcome's unknown. You go and watch the Jersey boys and you can watch it twice, but you're going to know the outcomes.
How do you treat a skill like goalkeeping? Have you done anything different, either physically or mentally, with the players this week to try and change that, or is it just one of those spontaneous remission things where 3 players can come out and nail your first 3 shots this week?
Yeah, they could. No, the players, say Josh Kennedy, if you saw him, he's had more shots at goal than as many as anyone this week, and he kicked all his goals last week. But his job is to be the very good kick for goal. The other boys will be doing the same. They got their routines. Mark LeCras will do his normal amount of practice and make sure that he's back to his normal high level, and the same goes all the way through.